It's an odd question to ask, I suppose, of a team that's just won by 220 runs. But are you contemplating changes?
Not really. I think if you want to have a bit of consistency and if you want to have a bit of success in the Test arena or international cricket, that is, you got to keep some sort of consistency going. I think again, playing in PE, the conditions are pretty much what we expect, what we had in Durban, and then obviously viewing the wicket that they've prepared does almost say that we might go in with the same kind of structure going forward. But we still have a few hours to decide what we're going to go with. But currently, as I sit here now, I don't think there'll be too many changes.
Would anyone like to go after Telford? Sorry, not Dean. Thanks, Fidoz.
Hi, Dean. Dean, considering what you've just said, if you are looking to keep a similar kind of 11, could you tell us a little bit about your use of Vian Mulder as a bowler and kind of how do you see him fitting in? Will he bowl a bit more? When can you use him? And also, have you spoken to him about his batting?
Look, I think adaptability is something that I like to say is part of my leadership going forward. I'd love to use Vian a lot more with regards to the ball in hand. I would have liked to have used him a lot more in Durban, but we saw what the conditions were like. And I thought if we keep the pressure on the Bangladeshi batting attack with our spinners that we have, who are world class, it's best to maybe utilize them a little bit more than a guy like Fessy. But in saying that, conditions might be different. There might be a little bit more on offer with all depending on what kind of wind is blowing. The ball might swing a little bit more, and I'll be forced to obviously to use Fessy in a lot greater capacity. I obviously want to give him a lot more responsibility and opportunity to obviously showcase his skill, and obviously try and give us a lot more options going forward. But yeah, I'd like to think that I'll be using Fessy in a little bit of a different capacity, especially if the ball is swinging.
Heinz, Ken, and then Telford.
Hi, Dean. Hope you're well. Almost appropriate that you mentioned the win a bit because I just wanted to ask you about it. Alan Donald mentioned, that particularly the afternoon wind might become a bit disconcerting at times for bowlers and fielders alike. You've played there a couple of times now in P. Is it that big a factor? Do you really need to take it into account, especially as a fielder and stuff, or do you just go with the flow and just ensure your skills are okay?
The wind plays a massive factor. At St. George's. Since we've got here, the wind hasn't stopped blowing, so we kind of know what we might be experiencing for the next 5 days. But the wind plays a huge part. If the wind's coming over the scoreboard, they call it the swing wind here at St. George's, and that might assist the bowlers. But in saying that, on the other side of the field, next to the change room and the President's Suite, if the wind comes through that little gap there, it does tend to cause a lot of swirling wind within the stadium. We experienced a lot of wind today in our training session, and we had a great reference with regards to how the wind can play a massive part, especially with the ball that goes up in the air and catching. Catching's already pretty tough at St. George's Park, but and then you got the wind to add a little bit of a different dynamic as well. The wind plays a massive part for bowlers, especially in their run-ups, all depending on which direction the wind's blowing from. And it also plays a factor with a batsman. Sometimes the wind tends to blow you a little bit over your front foot and does maybe get you going across the ball a little bit. The wind is pretty much a big playing factor that we got to take into account playing here.
Okay.
Thanks. Hi, Dean. You did only play two seamers in Kingsmead. They didn't have a huge amount of work to do, but how happy were you with their actual performance? And I'm thinking especially of the second new ball in the Bangladesh first innings, obviously.
Yeah, look, it's a tough one on the seamers because of the nature of the conditions and the kind of style of cricket that we were almost forced to implement at Kingsmead. I thought a guy like Lizzie Williams on his debut was brilliant. He executed his game plan to a T, and that's what I kind of needed from him. A guy like Duzel maybe didn't get a lot of opportunity, but I thought he brought a lot of intensity, and it seemed like his paces were up. I think when a bowler knows that he's only going to bowl a certain amount of overs, he can almost incorporate his own intensity at what he wants to operate at. And that's what we kind of need going forward, is players being able to adapt to certain situations and circumstances that we have in front of us. But again, we might be faced with a different kind of game now starting tomorrow, where bowlers might have a lot more responsibility from the seamers department.
Alfred and then Colin.
Dean, there's an interesting mark above your right eye there. What happened there?
Surprised this question's only coming out now. Yeah, I had a bit of an accident in my room on our last night in Durban. I slept in the shower and hit my head. Yeah, getting out of the shower, which is obviously not ideal. Yeah, so I've got a few stitches in my forehead, and yeah, obviously not my proudest moment, but I mean, you know, these kind of accidents happen, and it's obviously never intentional, but yeah, so be it. I seem to be okay. I batted today, and it was obviously going to be a concern, especially with where my helmet rests. And yeah, I don't think I'm too far until the doctor actually takes the stitches out. So, but I'm okay. I'll survive.
Also, it helps that he's got such a thick skull. Colin is up next.
Is that a quote?
Yeah.
No,
Definitely not. I don't know why she's saying anything.
Dean, the Bangladeshis complained about excessive sledging. They also complained about the umpiring. What was your opinion of the atmosphere or the way the game was played in Durban? And do you believe that those complaints are justified?
I don't think they're justified whatsoever, especially towards the South African side. Look, we play the game hard, and if anything, we were just giving back what we were getting when we were batting. And this is Test cricket. It's a man's environment when it comes to playing this at this level. And I intend still to play the game hard. By no means that we swear or use foul language towards the Bangladeshi cricketers, because we still respect them in that nature. But we were just giving them back what we were receiving when we were playing. I just think they need to harden up and play the game at a level that maybe they're not used to. But yeah, this is purely just us not retaliating. It's just us playing the nature of cricket that we received it first, and we just responded in that way. But again, we never used bad language. We never used foul language. One of my messages to the players were that we do everything with dignity, and we don't throw our badge away. We don't throw our name away whatsoever. So yeah, I don't see it. I honestly didn't see any bad sledging out there, even from their side. I didn't see anything. So yeah, I just think this is Test cricket, and we need to dry our eyes sometimes.
And the umpiring?
Yeah, look, umpiring was tough. I don't think the wicket helped, especially with the invariable bounce, which can maybe challenge umpires' decision, and I'm sure their discretions can be interpreted differently. Yeah, I feel for them, because they're actually good umpires, and Marais been umpire of the year now, and yeah, and Adrian's obviously starting off in the Test arena, and he's definitely not a bad umpire whatsoever. Human nature, again, I think the human factor needs to be spoken of. Yeah, after all, they are human beings. They do make errors, as do the players. But I'm pretty sure they're gonna learn a hell of a lot out of that. So yeah, going forward, it's out of our hands. The decision's final, and whatever the umpire decides on, we need to respect that. Technology is there for a reason. If you don't use the technology, then you kind of holding yourself accountable for their decisions as well. So yeah, hopefully in the second test we could have a better show.
Thank you.
For those, and then we'll finish with Ken.
And just on that, I think the only thing we saw in Durban was the one Bangladesh bowler, Ibadat Hussain, had a few words with you, and then their specific complaint was around their young centurion, the Joy. Were those, were those kind of the issues that you picked up on as well? And when you say that you were just giving something back, was it after that happened, that incident with the bowler and yourself?
Well, I think a lot of things you don't see. That's all that happens off camera. So I think you got to bear in mind to maybe incidences that are happening off camera as well. We wouldn't go out there and intentionally try and intimidate a young player. We'll play the game at a hard level, but we're not there to use language in trying to intimidate guys. We'd rather try and intimidate by a skill that we can provide. But also, this is Test cricket. When I started Test cricket, the environments were a lot harsher than what it is now. You were told everything that you didn't want to know about yourself at those times. And I just think we're still playing a tough format. We're still playing for our country, first and foremost. We're representing our country and we want to win. And if you're playing a little bit of mind games on the opposition, why not?
And King.
Just following up on both those last two questions, did you get the feeling, Dean, during the Bangladesh second innings that they had metaphorically taken their eyes off the ball? Did they seem a bit distracted, lost focus a bit?
Maybe, but I think it was at the level of intensity that we were playing the game. I felt our intensity was right up there with regards to the conditions that we were facing. Even though we were bowling spin bowlers, the ruthlessness and relentlessness that the spinners showed was world class. So maybe they got caught up in the moment, which played perfectly in our hands as well. And I think that's what comes with gamesmanship. You got to outsmart and outplay and outwit your opposition. I think that's the total emotional and mental side of Test cricket that people forget about sometimes. And then if you incorporate your skill and you're doing all those kind of ticking those boxes and doing those to your best of your ability, then that's pretty much what sums up Test cricket, in my opinion.
And on that note, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We'll speak to you tomorrow at the post-play press conference of day one. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.